and welcome back or welcome to the channel. I cannot believe this year is finally ending, but I am very excited for the upcoming year and a new and a brand new reading list. But before we move on, I wanted to share my thoughts on all of the books I read this year, and maybe you can add some of these books to your 2024 reading list. So, without further ado, let's just get started. Okay, so the first book I finished reading this year was Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. If you don't know anything about Frankenstein, it's a sci-fi book. Well, it's a gothic sci-fi novel. It's a classic, and it's a very well-renowned piece of literature. Like, I'm sure you've heard of it. But if you've not, definitely give it a read, especially if you're getting into classics. It's a very short classic. It's easy to get through, and I think you can also find a lot of research on this book. So if you're just looking for some additional readings, it'll be great. So yeah, definitely go give it a read, and I'm going to rate it 4 out of 5. So the second book I read this year was Third Girl by Agatha Christie, and it was, if you had not guessed already by the name of the author, it is a mystery thriller. It's about this girl who gets murdered, and we need to. And by the way, it's a part of the Poirot series, so if you're a fan of him, obviously this book is for you. However, I am going to say, compared to other Agatha Christie books, this one felt a little underwhelming. Like, the plot twist wasn't up to the mark, at least to me. So don't attack me for this, but I think I'll have to give it a 3 out of 5. The third book I read this year was The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I am completely sure I butchered her name, but anyway. So again, this book is about like first of all, for some context, it is a classic. It's not a very well-known classic, but it's a children's classic, and it's just about this girl. And if you hadn't already guessed from the title, it's about a secret garden. But yeah, it also has a lot of themes related to nature and a lot of descriptions of flowers and just the wilderness. So if you're into that, it's a good book. It also has some like moral lessons involved in it. But yeah, I thought personally I would have liked this book a lot better if I was younger. But regardless, I did like the book. It's a classic comfort book. So I'm gonna rate it 4 out of 5. The fourth book I read this year was The Quarantine Princess Diaries, which is the 12th book in the Princess Diaries series. So I don't think this one needs any further explanation, because I'm sure everyone has at least watched the Princess Diaries movies. But if you've not, go watch it. And if you've not read the series, please read it. It is my favorite YA coming of age novels. So in my very biased opinion, I'm going to rate it 5 out of 5. So the fifth book I read was When Dimple Met Rishi. It is again a YA novel. It's a YA rom-com. The characters are Indian American, so I'm a little more attached to the book. And by the way, this was my reread, and I love it. I love the book, although I'm not a fan of the main character. So only for that reason, I have to give it a 3.5 out of 5. Also, this book has the arranged marriage trope. Well, sort of. It sort of has, without spoiling it, it has the undertones of an arranged marriage trope. So if you're into that, go give it a read. The sixth book I read was Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. It's a classic, and I'm afraid it did not live up to my expectations. I was just expecting a lot more adventurous book, and I feel like for a lot of the book, it just felt very stale, like nothing much was happening. And yeah, personally, I did not like it, but that's because I had imagined it to go in a completely different direction. But to give you some context, it's an adventure story about pirates and obviously a treasure island. And so if you're into those kind of books, you might like it. 3 out of 5. So also please don't attack me for my reviews on classics. Okay, now on to the best book slash books I read this year was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's all over TikTok, it's all over BookTube. It's about this, it's a coming of age mystery thriller, and our main character Pip is the one who tries to solve an unsolved but technically a closed case murder. And I cannot describe it any further than giving you spoilers, but the plot twists are amazing. The book is amazing. I finished all three books in like a matter of 4 days, so it's damn captivating. Definitely go give it a read, and you're gonna fall in love with Ravi Singh. Just a PS if you're looking for more fictional men to fall in love with. Anyways, I'm gonna rate all the 3 books individually. The first one, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, is a 5 on 5. Definitely, I loved it a little too much. The second one, Good Girl Bad Blood, is, I'm going to rate it 4.5 out of 5 because I kind of felt like it strayed away from the main plot, but I did think this was more heartwarming than the first novel. And the fifth one, I'm going to rate it a 4 out of 5 because although I like the plot twist, I don't know why, but it just felt a little harder to read than the first two. But feel free to disagree, and if you've not read it already, please read it so we can have a huge discussion on all the theories, on all the plot twists. The last book I read this year was Anne of the Island, which is the 3rd book in Anne of the Green Gables series. If you've not heard of Anne of the Green Gables, it's basically just, first of all, it's a classic. It's a Canadian classic, and it's about this orphan girl who gets adopted by Matthew and Marilla, who are siblings, and they were not expecting a girl, they were expecting a boy, and it's about her life at Green Gables, and it's just a very heartwarming coming of age story and my personal favorite. So again, in my very biased opinion, I'm going to have to rate it 5 out of 5. And if you've already read Anne of Green Gables, and if you've read the second book, definitely read the third one, because in my opinion, out of all 3 books, the third one is the best one, in my opinion. And also, a little further information on the third book, it's about Anne and her life at college with Gilbert. So if you've read the previous 2, please check out this one. And that's it. That's all the books I read this year. I feel like I read a lot of books, but I feel like BookTube and BookTok convinces you to read like around 100 books per year, which I don't think is possible. But I feel like I finished a whole lot of books this year. Definitely more than the amount of books I've read in any of my previous years. So that's definitely an accomplishment. And if you did not read as many books as you wanted to, don't get discouraged. This is not a competition. Reading is supposed to be our hobby, so treat it as one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.